Hello and welcome to another lesson in Sanskrit here at Sanskrit Studio, and today I'm going to talk about some introductory things in regard to our lessons. In the following here I will present a minimal number of words and rules and Sanskrit grammar in order for us to get the process running. And so we will start today's lesson with 3 verbs, and we will do 3 pronouns, and then we will talk a little bit about different translations and all that. And there is also a little introductory things about Devanagari and transliteration and all these things. So we'll take it successively here, and the sort of basic rule here in this series of lessons in Sanskrit is that we are not going to focus on sandhi. We're not going to focus on all those hundreds or even thousands of rules that proper sandhi is involved. So that is a discussion for a whole other series of potential lessons that we could do in this channel here. But for now, this series is focused on getting up to speed with basic vocabulary and basic grammar. And we will require many lessons to get our vocabulary up to speed, and also the grammar. So this includes a whole range of words, naturally, whether we're talking about verbs or we're talking about nouns or adjectives or whatever we're talking about. This is the place to discuss it in these lessons here. And also, of course, we're going to do different types of verbs and different types of pronouns and different types of grammatical concepts. So in this lesson I will start with talking about verbs and pronouns, and a little bit about Devanagari and transliteration. And the idea here is that I'm hoping that I don't have to create a new series on the Devanagari script. So we're testing here to see if we could avoid creating a whole because I think there are many places on YouTube here where you could learn the basic writing the basic letters in Sanskrit, and but there may be fewer places for transliteration also. So, but we'll come to these points here. But the idea is here, this series is a basic place for acquiring Sanskrit writing and speaking also. So we will pronounce everything nicely as we can, and we will hope that you will find this good or pleasing to you. Alright, so let's see here. We have so today's lesson, what I will do here is that I will start in Roman letters, in Western letters here. We will start talking about the words in Roman letters. So I will start writing the first verb here, which is nayati. Nayati. And this is a word that means he leads. He leads. Like that. All right. So then we have another word here that is pibati. Pibati. And it means he drinks. And the last verb today will be patati. Patati. He falls. He falls. Like that. Okay, so these are the three verbs. And one of the things with Sanskrit verbs is that the word nayati, we can say for grammatical purposes, or for the purposes of learning how to memorize it, we can say that it means he leads. He leads. But actually, when we actually use it, we will use it to mean either he leads, or she leads, or it leads. So depending on who is leading, we will have to adjust this later on. But the sort of the default setting, we can say, when listing verbs and like that, and in translating them, it's usually translated as he leads, as a sort of first approximation to what it could mean. And then if the context requires, then we can switch this to she leads, if that is the case. So it depends on whether we have other words over here in the same sentence that indicates. Maybe you have like a woman's name here, Radha Nayati, for instance. So then of course it means she leads. But this is just convention, we can say here. This is just. So we have then nayati, pibati, and patati. Now the peculiar thing about Sanskrit grammar, and especially about Sanskrit dictionaries, is that you will not find nayati in a book, in a ordinary dictionary normally. You may find it in a textbook, like a Sanskrit textbook, for convenience, but mostly we use another form here to list it in the dictionary. So in the dictionary you will see a short form which is called the root, and some Sanskrit textbooks, they use this and use the mathematical sign here to say that this is a root. So whatever I'm going to write here now is the root. And for nayati, the root is ni. So this is the sort of the base combination of letters here, which sort of is theoretically used to sort of how should I say, categorize nayati and all its forms, because this is just the present. Here, this is he leads. How does nayati look like when it's like past tense or future tense or some other participle or some? So there are many variants of different types of verbs, just as in English. So he leads, he was leading, he's going to lead, and all these things, infinitives, and so in the dictionary this is sort of the form used in Sanskrit. It's not, as in English, an infinitive, because in English dictionaries, with English words, then you get to lead or to drink or to fall, like that. So it's the infinitive form, but this is not the infinitive form in Sanskrit. This is just a root. So infinitive form is another form. So it's interesting to understand that, or it's good to know that. All right, so the root is ni for nayati, and for pibati it's pa. So these forms are not always easily, you cannot construct these. So if you know nayati, you cannot easily deduce ni, and if you know pibati, you cannot easily know the root pa. And similarly, patati, the root is pat. So here then the idea is that you have to memorize these things. So you have to know that nayati has the root ni and pibati has the root pa, or patati has the root pat, if you are going to go to your Monier-Williams dictionary or any other dictionary. I think that, anyway, most dictionaries. All right. Anyway, but so you may decide here that you don't want to mess around with the root, and then you can use another book. Just if you need to look it up, then you can just use some other book just to figure out what the root is, and then you can sort of look it up. If you need to see synonyms, what the word could possibly mean, other than, for instance, he leads or he drinks, he falls. All right, so we have a sort of like a basic idea here that nayati is he leads, pibati is he drinks, and patati is he falls. Alright, another thing here in Sanskrit verbs that is important to note is that Sanskrit is like Latin in the sense that verbs can be used on their own without pronouns. So I can for instance create a whole sentence by just saying nayati. So I can write nayati. Nayati. And then end of sentence, like a straight vertical line there. Nayati. He leads. And then I can write pibati. He drinks. And then I can write patati. He falls. So now I have 3 sentences here. Of course, the only I mean there of course, as in English, there are many forms of the verb, and in English, of course, the number of forms are much more limited than in Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, we need to have we need to learn 9 different forms to be able to express all we want to do in terms of the present tense here. So in English you would say he leads, but if we say, for instance, we lead, then lead is another form, another morphology there. So it uses and one form has an S at the end and another one doesn't. So in English, the present tense, so I lead, you lead, he leads, we lead, you all lead, they all lead. So in English there are only 2 variants of the verb, but in Sanskrit there are 9. So we need to learn all 9, but today we're only going to learn 3, and I'm going to list these down here. So I'm going to start with all the singular forms. So I'm going to say nayami, nayasi, and nayati. So then these are the 3 endings, then we can say ami, asi, and ati. So when we go to the other, so these are then I lead. Nayami, I lead. Nayasi, you lead, in singular. You, David, you lead. And then nayati is third person. He leads, or he, she, it leads. Alright, so then the let's see, I have to switch back to my black here. Nayasi, then we have pibami. Pibami. And you note here that this is a long ah. This is not a short nayati. Nayati. It's a short one, but this is a long one. Pibami. So it has a different sound as well as a different length. This is ah, and this is up here. Nayati. Pibami. Okay. All right. And let's see. We have pibami. We have pibasi. Pibasi. And we have pibati. Pibati. So I fall, pibami. You fall. Oh, so sorry. You drink. Sorry. Pibami. I drink. Pibasi. You drink. And pibati. He drinks. He, she, it drinks. And you see the endings are the same here. And similarly, patati becomes patami. Patami. Patasi. Patati. So we can perhaps write this over here as well, that this is first and second and third singular here. Another thing we can do is to point out here that that there is a difference in stress here, and which you can hear when I am saying this, that nayami, nayasi, nayati. So the stress on the first here, on the first word, whether we are talking about nayami or pibami or patami, is that the stress will end up here in this location here. Patami, pibami, nayami. But in this case, in number 2 and number 3 here, in the second person and the third person, the stress comes here. Nayasi, pibasi, and patasi. And this is because we have a long vowel here. The ah is a long vowel, but here is just a short one, so we have to move it. We have to have the stress on the ah here. Nayati, pibati, patati. Nayati, pibati, patati. Oh, maybe I should just do that. So. Right. So I think that's pretty good. Let's see. I have a sheet here. Okay. So we have covered some spelling things here. So once again here I'm. Let's see where my pointer is. Okay, here it is. Oh, yep. So this is a long ah because of the horizontal black stroke I have here. So, and that should be a different pronunciation than if the ah if that stroke wasn't there. So okay, and then we have also so the next step then is to introduce a new group of words, and those are the pronouns. I'll create a new layer here like that, and we'll talk about personal pronouns today. So as I said before, Sanskrit has 9 forms of each verb, at least in this version here, in this like for present tense, and those represent 9 persons, we can say, or like that. So we did right now, we did I and you and he, like in singular, but there are also 6 others, and those are we two, you two, and they two. So here we're talking about dual form. So we're in groups of 2. So we two, or you two, or they two, and then we have a plural, which is includes then 3 people or more. So we all, you all, and they all. But today then, since we have introduced only the 3 first forms of the verb, I will only talk about the 3 pronouns that are corresponding to those verbs. So today we will talk about the word aham. I was going to write here, but let's undo that and then. Okay, all right. So we have the word aham. Oh, well, I shouldn't write it in Devanagari. I'll just write it in Roman letters. Aham. Aham, which means I. And then we have tvam. Tvam, you, singular, 1 person. And then we have saha, sah, he. Aham, tvam, sah. I, you, and he. And now what we're going to do, okay, so we're just going to clarify here that the stress here is here, aham. Tvam, well, it's not really necessary, it's only one vowel here, no, only one here. But so the idea here is that pronouns in general are not following the normal stress rules of Sanskrit. So because otherwise, if you were to follow the real rules of, or so-called real rules, you would put the stress on the first A here in aham, but they're so commonly used, and so that they sort of have morphed into a special pronunciation. So that's that. And then another thing here which we may point out here is that this letter here is not, it's not a really Roman letter. It's an H with a dot under it, and it signifies that there should be a breathing sound and a slight echo of the sound just preceding it. So in this case we have a short A here, or we have an A here, and then we should replicate, we should echo this A slightly, not as loud as the first A, but it should be audible. It should be, you should be able to hear it. So that's the peculiarity of this letter here, which is called a vis adga. So I can write this perhaps here. Oh, another red. Okay, I have to change back to black here. So let's just write it up here. It's called a vis adga. Vis adga. Adga. And this may be good to know if you are looking up terms in a Sanskrit textbook and want to know more about the details here. But the idea is that whatever vowel you have before the H here, that is the vowel that also will be heard in the echo after it. So if the A was an I, you would hear sihi, like that. So it's not terribly difficult. All right, so that's good then. All right, so now let's let's see what we should do. We should make an example now. Okay, so let's combine these. Let's start where we left off. We left off by talking about nayati and pibati and patati. So let's write this up here. Let's just say that we do something like this. Nayati. nayati. Then the only pronoun that so if we have this word alone, it means he leads, as we said before. But we could also attach, or we could add a saha here, which is more clarifying. It's more stressing the fact that he leads. And I think this is a very good thing to do in general, because well, we will see in the following here that whenever we do that, it's easier to remove saha and still have nayati, but it's good to sort of learn saha together with nayati. Saha nayati. So we get the sense of that nayati really means he leads. And similarly, we can do the same thing here with pibati. We can do saha, pibati. Saha, pibati. And then we have saha, patati. And he falls. So this is like the default meaning, we can say, of nayati. Saha nayati is approximately equal to nayati. But of course, if we there are also words for she, for instance, which I'm not going to teach you in this lesson, but so you could have replaced saha here, for instance, with that word meaning she, and then it would say she leads. So that is possible, but the idea here is that if we are sort of we are loading, or how should I say, we are preparing ourselves to understand not just the meaning of lead, but the whole idea of this 9 different combinations of the verbs. So we get a sense of how important it is to know those 9 forms, because the challenge is, of course, not just one verb form, but there are many verb forms as well. So it's good to associate the verbs with a pronoun, so that we can simply just skip the pronoun if we don't want to express it, but still we get the sense of what the verb contains within it, so to speak. Right. So let's take the other forms as well. Here we can do aham, nayati, nayami. Sorry, aham, nayami. And aham, let's see, pibati, pibami. And then we have aham, patati there, so patami, patami. So the first one there, first person singular, and then we have second person here, which would be tvam is the pronoun, and if we take nayami, then tvam nayasi, tvam pibasi, and tvam patati, like that. So that would be the forms. And then we have the third one here. So now we have covered all those forms, and once again here we can list this here, that the root for nayati here is ni, so we don't forget that, ni. Pibami or pibati here is pa, and the root for patati is pat. Okay, good. So then the last thing we are going to do here today now is to do the Devanagari. Alright, so we're going to create a new layer here, and we are going to that, and let's see, so let's take nayati. Now let's start with patati. Let's start with patati here. Okay. And in Sanskrit, we usually, or the Sanskrit letters, they are not like the Roman letters, because they all, or the consonants at least, the consonants all have an implicit sound to them. So in Sanskrit, the pa here, the two first letters, Roman letters, actually represent just one letter in Sanskrit. So this is pa in Sanskrit, pa. Similarly, ta is also one letter. But then we have the problem here with t. If ta is one letter, how is t a completely different one? No. Um, so as you see here, there is an sound here. So pa and ta. These are two Sanskrit letters. But as soon as there is something else than the here, so this is not patata, but patati. And because there is an e sound here, something else than the a, then we have to take the ta sound, or the ta letter, and modify it some way. So we're adding a thing here to the ta sound to make it into t. Now the problem here is that in some cases there is just some small thing you can add, but in the case of an e sound, it's a little more tricky. So you have to add a whole thing here, and then you have to write the ta, and then you have to connect these two together, and that makes t. So pa, ta, ti, and then we have the stroke up here also. So patati. Now let's take pibati. Pibati. So once again here we have an e sound here instead of an sound. So it's not pabati but pibati. And because of this we have to do something similar here, but in this case with the p. So we have to start the same way with like a vertical stroke here, and then we have to write the pa sound, and then we have to connect these two to make the e. P. And then comes the ba sound, which is something like this with a diagonal stroke and something like that. This is the ba, and then we have another t here. So we do the same as in patati, t, like that. Pibati. And then the last one is nayati. 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 Like that. And we have na here, which is an sound. So this is the na, and then we have the ya, and then we have the t, as in all the others, t. Nayati. Nayati. Okay, so we have done a little spelling. And yes, okay, good. Now what we want to do is we do the same for the pronouns. So we do aham, aham, there. So let's start with aham. Now in this case, of course I should point out here that it might have been better from like a Devanagari learning standpoint to avoid certain things like the starting vowels, or like in this case the ending M here. But I thought that it's so nice to have a couple of pronouns and a couple of verbs to start forming sentences with. So I took this decision to start talking about these issues already now in the first lesson here. Alright, so we have aham, and here we have an initial vowel. Before, up here in patati, for instance, we had an sound here, which was not initial, because it followed after the p, and so pa here became one consonant Sanskrit letter. But in this case, in aham, we have a separate vowel. So there's a whole set of vowels that we start words with, which are different from in this case the up here in pa, which sort of is included into the Sanskrit consonant. So here we do something like this, sound, and then we do ha, which looks something like this, ha, and then we do an m, na, but there is no here at the end, so we have to take away that final with a special stroke here under the m here. So that's aham. So there are many things we can talk about here. One thing is that this termination here, this termination of the ending, because there is no it's not ahama, but it's aham, and because there is no ending we put this diagonal kind of stroke, which is called a virama. I can write this there, virama. Like that. So right, okay, I think that's good. And then we take the other word here, which is tvam, and note also what I'm doing here with the Roman V here. It's actually a softer V. It's more like a W in English word. So the Sanskrit pronunciation of a standard V like this, which is always used in Sanskrit print, or in books where they are representing Sanskrit text, that is always a W. I'm not aware of any exceptions to that rule, so normally this is W. It should be pronounced like a W, although it has it looks like a V, but more like a U sound, softer sound. Tvam. Not tvam, but tvam. Right. So tvam. Okay. How do we do this? Now here we have a problem here. because there is no tv letter in Sanskrit. So we have to create a tv, but not really either. We have to create a tva. So let's start from the end. We just as aham, we have tvam here, so we can, let's do that which we know already. We have the ma here, and then we take away the a to become an m sound. And we have a va or wa. So let's just do that for now. And wa is almost looks like a B, but without the diagonal inside there, so it's just a circle or an ellipse. So that this is wam, but now we need the T to put there. What do we do? Well, what we do here, let's go up in nayati, for instance. Here what we do is just in order to get a single T, we remove the vertical stroke here, so that only this first part of the T is represented. So we write it like this. So we get the T up here without any vertical stroke, and then we just complete the word here with the horizontal stroke like that. So this is tvam. And this is so but the exact design of each of the consonants is depending on how the consonant looks like in sort of its full version. So it's not always easy to, so we have to learn what is acceptable and not acceptable here. You have to know the rules, which we're gradually going to cover here as we go along, and we have new combinations of letters and like that. So, but this is tvam. And then the last thing we had here is saha. Saha. And so and this is basically simple. We have the sa, which looks something like this, and then we have this visarga, echo kind of thing, which looks like this in Sanskrit. So this is saha. Right. Okay, so then we let's now do the exercises then. Okay, so we create a new layer here. Let's see. Layer 4, and so we can, I'll do it like this. So let's say he falls, right? He falls. I drink. You lead. Let's take 3 more. Eyelid, you fall, and he drinks. So you may want to stop the video here. You can create this for yourself, and the assumption here is that we should use pronouns here. It's not, you could do it just with the verbs, or you can do one version with only the verbs and one version with the pronouns. But I think that in general the pronouns are, it's good that we learn to combine them together with the verbs from day one. So let's try to get this together here. He falls. We know it's saha, and we know it's patati. So it becomes then in Sanskrit saha patati. Oops, well, these Wacom boards are not always so easy to write on. Oh, okay, saha patati. Okay, I drink. Aham. Oh, I should. We should have done this in Roman transliteration first. Okay. Well. Aham patami. Aham patami. Like that. And then you lead. Tvam. Nayati. Tvam. Nayati. Okay, I lead. Aham. Nayami. And we do the aham termination. Aham, oops, Nayami. Na, ya. Oops, did I forget the long, well, oh no, I didn't. Nayami. Okay, so here we see here, since we have a long ah here, nayami, right? So we have to have a long a here. So, and we get the long a by adding a stroke here, a vertical stroke. So it's different, like if you have down here to the very left here, nayasi, tvam, nayasi, in the third. Let's number them also. 1, 2, exercise 3, exercise 4, exercise 5. So in the third exercise here we had nayasi, and here you see there is a vertical stroke, but that vertical stroke signifies the e sound in nayasi. It's not, there's not an extra vertical stroke before that. But here in nayami we have an extra stroke to the left of the e sound, which signifies, so these two here, this is ya, but adding this one becomes ya, like that. So nayami. Now the error I did, was down here. I forgot to put it a long stroke, or I spelled wrong. I spoke wrongly. Made a mistake here not to make this ah sound into an ah sound, and because I missed that, I didn't spell it correctly down here in the Sanskrit either. So I'm going to correct this now. I'm going to I'm going to have to fix this up here. Multiply. Okay, good. And I'm going to erase this so we can spell it correctly. Ooh, like that. Patami. So vertical stroke, and then comes the e sound, which we're adding to the ma. So mi, like that. So patami. So it's actually good that I made some mistake there. It wasn't I didn't think about that before. Okay, so we are now back on number 4 here. You fall, and you is tvam. Tvam patasi. Patasi. And we have our conjunct T here. Wa, t, wa. And an ma sound, which we terminate the a. Tvam, patasi. Patasi. And here we don't have a long ah sound here, so we don't add an extra vertical stroke here. Right, so then we come to number 6. He drinks, and saha, he, saha p, and we have a ba sound here, pibati. Saha pibati. He drinks. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to it's really not saha pibati. Normally I don't write so much transliteration, so I sort of, my default is always Devanagari, so I'm sort of, so we have to excuse that. Alright, so now we are writing Devanagari here. Saha pibati. Pibati. And the, okay, good, and then we can end the sentences here as well, like that. Right. So we have he falls, saha patati. I drink, aham patami. You lead, tvam nayasi. I lead, aham nayami. You fall, tvam patasi. He drinks, saha pibati. Alright, so I think that's enough for our first attempt here, and I hope you have been enjoying this, and hope to see you again. Bye bye.